the Grey Hat Beard podcast. So hello and welcome to episode 4 of Grey Hat Beard podcast. I'm going to do some introductions. So my name's Kevin McDonald. I am the Grey of Grey Hat Beard. I'm a solutions architect at CPS. Been working around the SharePoint world for about 15, 16 years now, and in various guises as a consultant. We have with us Mr. Beard. Do you want to introduce yourself, Gary?
I'm Beard. So my name is Gary Trinder, solutions architect at CPS. I'm also a Microsoft MVP for Office development, and I also maintain the PMP Office 365 CLI project.
Thank you. And you may have noticed, those who are watching on YouTube, that we have a guest with us today. We have a replacement hat. Marijn, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. My name is Marijn Somers. You might notice a little accent because I'm not from the UK. I'm actually living in Belgium. Al couldn't make it today, so you guys asked me to come over as a replacement, and I was very happy to oblige. So my name is Marijn, also been an MVP for a full year now for Office apps. And yeah.
Great.
Yeah, it's been longer actually.
Ooh, so renewal time is a interesting time.
Absolutely. So
I believe you also have a podcast as well, and I think in honor of that, the reason I just ran next door is I have my announced Arbor Law that I've been working my way through, and I do know you like whiskey. Unfortunately, it is 10 in the morning, so a little bit early for me, even though it's Friday. And just in case anyone from CPS is listening, I know it's company policy. I won't be trying any whiskey until later.
All right. Yes, absolutely. We do have a podcast where we talk about, me and Steve Dalby, about Office 365, mainly governance adoption in a very relaxed, chill way. And then we always end with a whiskey tasting because why not?
Yeah. Absolutely. It's a great idea. We're going to have to shift the time we do that and find some rum or something that's to go with the pirate theme we very vaguely have. And also, we asked our guests something interesting, and you told me you're a watchmaker. Is that right?
That is correct. So, 15 years ago, I bought my first grown-up watch, and it had this little display window on the back where you can see the movement, and I was so taken away by it, and I was looking for ways to understand what was going on inside, and I found a school in Antwerp that was doing it in the evenings. So I went there for 5 years, learned how to make clocks and alarm clocks and all these mechanical old movements and watches as well. And then I started my own little company where we buy vintage watches, we repair them, and then we sell them again.
Cool.
So that's it. You're still doing that as well?
It was on a very low thing for the last few years, but I'm back on track now, and from September on, we're really going to start pushing new stuff out again. Yeah,
that's very cool. I like the sound of that.
Yeah.
So I know Al recently had the Office 365 watch face for his Android watch.
Yeah.
Which I tried to get on my Apple Watch, but no joy, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's the first question people ask me, like, oh, so you can put in a new battery if my watch dies. No, it's not those kind of watches. But yeah.
Not touching that.
Please fix my Casio.
I leave your Casio alone. Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
cool. Right, I think let's get started. And I've always been taught to be polite by my mother, who's staying with me at the moment, so we'll be listening to this later, and ask guests to go first. So, Marijn, what have you been up to, and what's caught your eye in the news?
So what I've been up to, one of the coolest things that I also do is together with UC Mori, we have a YouTube thing going on where we every few weeks we get together with a guest, and then we talk about how we can blame all the problems on our end users. So it's called Blame the End User, and we always try to shift all the problems to them. So last few weeks I was busy building my first Power App from a SharePoint source, and I didn't like my experience. It was difficult. It didn't go as planned. So we had the Polish MVP Tomasz Postek on our video, and I was just asking him all kinds of questions around. So is Power Apps now really a worthy follow-up for Infopod? Because I've been doing lots of things with Infopod. I love Infopod. It's easy. It's nice to do. I know. But it's so nice. It's so easy, and I can just explain to my end users how it works, and they can do it. And
so I know where to come now when the support agreement gets extended. Again.
Well, whatever brings food to the table. I mean, but yeah, I didn't have that same experience with Power Apps. So I just had to ask Tomasz what was up and how we could do certain things. So that was definitely a big eye opener for me, because he gave me some really good tips, which you can also find on.
More of a convert to Power Apps now, then.
Not really, not all the way, but I can definitely see more things happening now. Yeah, absolutely. So that was one of the fun things I was doing. Also, you might have seen this, or you might have heard about this little Outlook Spaces that just came out little in beta just for a day. So I saw that passing around on
unintended preview.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. And so you could go to this URL and then open up your developer tools and set some settings, and then you were able to play with it. And what Outlook Spaces is a kind of Pinterest for your project. So you would create some kind of bulletin board for a project or for something that you want to work together on. And then you can pull in all kinds of notes and documents and calendar items and emails on there. But the nice thing was that for the emails and for your calendar items, it had kind of a search thing. So it kind of looked like it was like something that could go into Project Cortex, but maybe not. And so it captured my attention to play with it. But after a day, they took it down again, so I can't play with it anymore. So, but it was really in a beta thing. So
yeah, it certainly looked like that, and I had a quick play myself. I hadn't noticed it had disappeared, unfortunately, but I think with Delve, it had that sort of ability to have that Pinterest style. You could kind of tag links, but this was so much more powerful. To be able to drop on a specific board and pull bits on there. I can definitely see a space for it. I can imagine it on a big screen in the corner of a project room.
Yeah,
with the kind of the key elements. You could put your deadlines on there. I thought it was if you pardon the pun, definitely a space for it.
Yeah, I think I've must admit I completely missed this. It was only around for a day, easy to miss. But it seems the Delve has the kind of like documents, tiles kind of page. I wonder if it's trying to take that idea and then run with that. So it's interesting to see Microsoft doing things in this area.
Yeah, and also we have SharePoint Spaces, and now we have Outlook Spaces. So I'm guessing space will be the last frontier.
Rockets everywhere.
That's an interesting. Will this board that you can pin, if you have a HoloLens, will that pin literally onto your board? That would be an interesting view of things. Virtual reality pinboard. That could be very nice. Cool. And anything else caught your eye recently?
If we're talking about news, I read the news that Jeff Teeper is not only taking, he's doing SharePoint at the moment, but he's also going to take over the Teams team. And I think that's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, I agree with this one. I think there was a bit of debate going around Twitter about the direction of where Teams is kind of going. I think a lot of this discussion was around how document libraries are now appearing in Teams. They're looking a lot more like SharePoint document libraries, and the two are merging. And it's interesting with Jeff kind of taking over the helm is, are we going to see more SharePoint-centric features moving into Teams rather than sitting in the background? So things like metadata, views on lists and document libraries. So yeah, it's an interesting direction. Must admit, a lot of people are not happy about it as well. Lots of people commenting saying,
about the documents,
about making Teams a bit too more complex, and then we're bringing the old user experience issues from SharePoint, it being too complex, into Teams, where it's being picked up as a nice tool to use because it's easy. You just drop documents in and create folders, which users, are generally the folders are easier to explain. That's a whole different discussion. But it's interesting to see that now and then see Jeff take over. I don't see the two as separate things. So definitely coincidences.
I think what I found interesting around the Jeff news was that actually it was things he doesn't own. So Outlook's not in his world, and even the Office web apps don't come under his world. So SharePoint, OneDrive, but not the Office web apps. I think there was some specific element to it. So it was interesting where the lines have been sliced up there. But, no, I think it would definitely be interesting news. Cool. Thanks, Marijn. From my side, I've been looking quite a bit into records management in Office 365 and all the kind of capabilities that you've got across there with retention labeling, with the ability with the sensitivity labeling, all the things you can get, moving away from the sort of classic records that you had with SharePoint through, I think it was 2013, 16, 19, to what you can get with Office 365. Had a lovely demo with a client. It's kind of opened my eyes a bit by researching. Always a good way when you're demoing and have to do a bit more research yourself. That was intriguing to see. Would do a bit of a shout out to Joanne Klein and say thank you for her blogs. Always a great summary of what's capable in there. If you're doing records management, go and have a look at that. Also been busy recording my presentation for GlobalCon 1, the Collab 365 conference that's coming up. What is it, beginning of March, so fairly soon. So if people haven't got their tickets for that, we'll put the link in the show notes. Get up for that and sign up. There's a huge amount of people. Matt Weston kicking things off, definitely worth signing up for as well. Are you speaking of that, Marijn? Or?
No, not that one.
No. That one.
No, I did send some things in, but no. I will be in Glasgow next week.
Yes, the Scottish Summit. So I think that there'll be double hattage there because Al's there and Gary, you're up there as well, aren't you?
I'm there. Yep, I'm going up.
Which neatly brings me on to the next news, is that we do, and hopefully if I can get over to Marlo and give them to Al, we do have some grey hat beard stickers that we'll be giving out. So we have the little pirate boat and the slightly smaller one. One of my pet peeves around stickers is there seems to be a growing size of stickers that are being given out, and my Surface has certainly run out of space. So we've gone for the smaller ones that people can fit in nicely as well there. So
you're going to start handing out laptop covers next. It's like, there you go, just change the laptop covers, Teams or whatever.
Today on Teams, today on Office 365. Yeah, I think that could work well.
Yeah. I also, at Ignite, there were a number of pins that they were handing out, and I was slightly worried that would become a new trend as well, but hopefully it will not, because that will just poke holes in everything I have. So
that's not good for a laptop, is it?
No.
that's a very good point.
So
I think my other news, I'm now an official contributor to Microsoft Docs, which is very exciting. An absolutely tiny change of just fixing a typo, but I kind of tweeted a slightly throwaway comment about it to people, and ended up being my most popular tweet ever, which is great.
I saw your
wasn't
PR.
entirely expected. Yeah,
I saw your PR. I saw the change that you made. It was literally a one-line change, and
exactly.
and I replied to you on this is that you got it absolutely spot on. you took the initiative, you saw that something was wrong, you went in, you changed it, you've made the world a better place, and it's a very small change. That doesn't mean that that contribution is less, has less of an impact than someone writing a whole library. It's the same thing, you're still contributing. And I think the message is, to other people that if you get used to that, it becomes second nature. You don't think about, that's wrong. You just go in, put the change in. Microsoft implement it pretty quickly. I think if it's an issue on the docs, they will push that change in very quickly. You don't have to wait around for it to be reviewed much. But it was good, and hope it's the first of many, Kevin.
Absolutely, it's kind of inspired me on to do more on there. So that's been nice. And then the final bit of news that I put on there, that's slightly sad news, but I think worth celebrating, is that Larry Tesler passed away this week. Now, many people are probably thinking Tesla cars, nothing to do with the cars, but was actually the computer scientist behind cut, copy and paste. And I don't know about you guys, if you've done any dev and you haven't done copy and paste, I do not believe you. So I doff my head to you, doff my cap, and say thank you, Larry Tesler, for what you brought to us.
Copy and paste of my own code, just don't copy and paste from the internet, people.
Or not into production code anyway.
Not into production.
Yes.
So when was this cut, copy and paste? When was that invented? Do you have a time on there somewhere?
I think it was 1970s. It came as part of the, actually no, early 80s. It was part of the Mac piece on there. So cool. Definitely I'll put the link to this article in there. But 1983, there we go. The command was incorporated into Apple software in 1983.
Oh wow, so that's almost as old as I am. Wow.
That's a lot of worn out CMV keys on the keyboard.
Yeah, can you imagine a time without copy and paste though? Can you just imagine that? Oh, life would be so painful.
Fairly recently with Flow, but there we go.
I did a little bit of COBOL when I was studying, and no, I can definitely imagine a time where that was not necessary. Mm-hmm.
Oh dear.
So Gary, what have you been up to?
So not much news from me really. I've been busy working. So I've been going visiting new clients around Teams. A lot of people have an interest in Teams as to how they can change the way that they work. Help with document management and things like that, which is interesting. And we'll probably talk about this later when we get to the etiquette side of things. But yeah, it's the technology is there, but I think you get the best out of Teams is the way that you use it and the way that people communicate through the tools. And there's good ways and there's bad ways, and that's with every communication tool. You can communicate badly in email, you can communicate badly in Teams, and that's a big discussion point I've been having with customers on the tech side. So I've been delving into Logic Apps, no Flow here, and been working with managed service identity, which is really cool in Azure. So the idea that
probably the vast majority of our audience, what is managed identity?
I was about to go into that. So basically, if you need to connect to anything in the cloud, you have to pass some kind of credentials. So basic, username and password. We don't like to handle those usernames and passwords for accounts that have a lot of power. The next level up is you might have a what's called client ID and secret, and the secret is like an encoded encryption key. Again, you still have to handle that some way. You have to secure that away and reuse that when you want to connect to different services. Managed service identity takes that away. So the idea is that I can create a resource, a Logic app in Azure, and I can give it a managed identity that only that Logic app can use. And I can say, I want this identity to be able to call SharePoint Online, for example. And what basically happens is Azure can handle the authentication internally. And the Logic app can say, I need to get a token for this resource. I've got access to it. Great, here's the token. You don't see anything.
So the benefit is you take away from developers that extra step of having to go and get the token and just simplify that development, basically.
exactly that. You're not handling different keys in different places, having to lock them away. It's a really simple and effective way of really securing your credentials, but simplifying things as well. You're not going to handle all that authentication yourself. So I've been looking into that,
Nice.
using Azure CLI for this, and I've also been using managed. You see, I'm on the Mac, so I'm kind of pissed. Using managed identities for Azure Functions in the same way I'm using for Logic Apps, and hopefully to get a sample out soon. And also last week, I might have been the week before actually, I pushed out a sample for using React hooks with SPFX. So there was a sample pushed out by I hope not pronounce his name correctly, but Verdeman Deshpande, the MVP. He pushed out a sample, and it was a really good idea. I picked that up, forked it, made another change, and we had a chat about it. We pushed both out as samples. We're actually due to demo that on one of the PMP calls next month, which is cool. But actually, my fork has now been forked by someone else. And it's kind of rolling on, so it's great. I think coming back to your point about contributing in open source, Kevin, this is a perfect example of it. One person's put something out there, another person's come along, added to it, another person again has come along and added to it, and we've got 3 different approaches to do effectively the same thing, but it's really good to push it out to people.
We'll talk about governance another time, but
it's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine.
That's great.
That's me.
Really nice. Well, thank you both of you. I think we'll draw the first half of the show to a close. This week, I will hopefully stop recording rather than hanging up. I'm gradually collecting a set of outtakes that we'll share at some point of mostly the stupid things I've done, but we'll share those at some point. We'll draw the show to a close, and in a minute, we'll kick off talking about the etiquette of Office 365.